You know, if there's one game which brings a huge grin to my face when you mention its name, then it's God Hand. After I was done with Bayonetta, that made it too. Bayonetta is an extremely fast-paced behemoth of a game which represents the best qualities of two different games, God Hand and Devil May Cry. Combined, they almost shatter the universe with their profoundly exciting, adrenaline-fueled gameplay. This is the hack and slash game Bayonetta, and it's sending the genre confidently forward.
You've already disappointed me. This is a moment I've long desired. But you've forgotten your destiny and wasted the past 20 years.
Bayonetta has a story, but prepare for some confusion. This is a woman who woke up at the bottom of a lake knowing nothing about her past. The world is split into two forces as normal, the Lumen Sages, which are like heaven, and the Umbra Witches, hell. After members from each had a child with one another, this sent them into a chaotic discord. They're out for blood, and Bayonetta is one of the only witches left. So this kind of builds two storylines, one about Bayonetta figuring out her past, and the other about the war. It's quite a reasonable story due to the established setting. Most of it is told through dynamic cutscenes, blending in several different styles of film. Truthfully, it can be a bit difficult to get your head around, as there are many elements from the past which assault the player, and just get lost as minor details, forcing you to consult the books for reference. But I'll break it down for you. There are two stones called the Eyes. If they're brought back together, it will bring back Jubileus into the world. Sort of the ultimate holy badass. Then we have the other characters implemented like Luca and John, who have their own subplots for you to follow. You'll probably enjoy all of the detail, but might get a bit bored with the immense and time-consuming cutscenes. The cutscene to gameplay ratio is still about even, and you can of course skip them. I would have settled for less cutscenes, as it makes the game more ambiguous by doing so, but then I'd probably have more trouble following the story.
I'm sorry. I forgot to mention one of the reasons I hunt your kind. You're much too ugly not to put out of your misery. Flock off, featherface.
Let's cut to the gameplay. It's sensational. The core gameplay is about providing fast and furious hack and slash style brutality. Bayonetta has a large assortment of weapons, two of which can be equipped at one time. This provides her with different moves to pull off using approximately full controls for about 30 different ability combos per weapon arrangement. That's a lot of techniques. The most powerful of these are called Wicked Weaves, and they deal huge levels of damage to enemies. And the depth doesn't stop there. There's also magic, which unlocks quick time moves with animations for each enemy. God Hand had a similar style to this, dealing damage, and the technique works for faster fights here. Bayonetta even attaches weapons to her feet, providing all sorts of ranged attacks, even using bazookas. True to Devil May Cry, you can easily whip out your guns and inflict mayhem while moving. Bayonetta's gameplay really has so much complexity, but such simplicity in the way you can control it. It looks spectacular any way you choose to play. This was the same feeling I received when playing Uncharted, for instance. Simple gameplay concepts, amazing results. Of course, there are drawbacks. During some scenes, you have to press buttons which appear to avoid death, reminiscent of God of War. Pressing a button to cheat death when watching Bayonetta do her thing is really irritating, but bearable. There's also a motorbike and rocket series of segments, which, while offering an alternative gameplay style, go on for way too long. The levels have great design, with the basic layout of some platforming and some fighting as per Devil May Cry. You will be locked into rooms during fighting just like Devil and continue onwards in a linear fashion. The puzzles are simple, so you can keep moving at a reasonable rate as well. There are boss levels which are absolutely stunning because of the sheer scale of the battles. These are like God of War 3, where you actually move on top of the bosses and take out their vital parts while avoiding all hell. It's a platforming and fighting package all in one, which is really terrific. I could definitely go into more detail about the collections of hearts, pearls, weapons, outfits, and even the crafting system available, but I'll leave that up to you to find out. There are seriously limited problems with the gameplay. It all goes to your head in the most wonderful way possible. It does take some getting used to, as there are things like which time you have to use to avoid an incoming attack, which time slows down the world around you temporarily so you can smash enemies. While I think this is a downside because it is spammable, the highest difficulty levels remove it, and the enemies move even faster, so the difficulty levels are even major positives because they actually affect the gameplay to a huge degree and provide challenges for every player type. You can try getting the difficult to obtain pure platinum medals if you're a freakishly good player. Bayonetta's graphics are a huge advantage for it. The polish is ridiculous. There are animations for each set of weapons you choose from, and spectacular particle effects for each. This makes the game highly colourful and exciting to watch. And the world you're in has beautiful shaders to it. So much light and colour. The character models are heavily detailed, especially the bosses. You know, you're onto something good when you're walking on walls and throwing buildings at one another. The actual idea of coming up with a whole bunch of different angels must have been a daunting task, but they really pulled it off. Wings, trumpets, glows, it's all there. And from the hellish side of things, Bayonetta usually summons gigantic hair demons when finishing off bosses, which looks so beautiful it just makes violence plausible. Really great detail and really unexpected for this game. It really highlights what is becoming possible with more advancements in graphics. The music is sort of this jazzy and upbeat Japanese style. It can make you a bit squeamish if you've never heard J-pop before. At least that's where I think it's derived from. It works in a manner which makes the game seem comical. You're this sadistic witch throwing angels around, and with such violence you can't help but laugh when the music is pounding away and your hair demon is chomping away. Conversely, for bosses and regular walking around, it switches to a harmonious choir representing the scale of what you're battling. These battles sometimes go on for 10 minutes, and the sensation which you achieve from destroying something absolutely gargantuan backed by this music is unbelievable. It very much reminds me of the theme they used in Mass Effect 2, where you also take on a behemoth of a boss towards the end, and they sing your praises. So, the combination of these styles works well, just as it did in DMC and God Hand. Well, 1200 words can't quite skim the surface about my feelings on Bayonetta. I believe this last decade of games has certainly been a weaker one due to the constant rush to push out as many sequels as possible. But occasionally you find a game like this which reminds us that video games and the imagination and enjoyment they provide is still beating. You just have to look hard enough. Truthfully, Bayonetta is a game with very few flaws and it has become one of my favorites, which I will cherish like God hand.